Hey, I am Mustafa Sharif. Thank you so much for listening to Urbanistica podcast. I am an urban planner working at Landskapslaget here in Sweden. I'm in love with planning cities for people and with focus cities for kids. And today I'm honored to have my guest to talk more about child-friendly cities. Super welcome and big welcome to the Secretary General of UNICEF Sweden, Pernilla. Hey.
Hey, thank you so much. It's great to be here.
I'm super honored. Thank you so much for giving your time for this podcast.
With pleasure. I've been looking forward to it.
Yeah, we had a big story. We supposed to meet in several events before this, but then the corona showed up. But I'm super happy to see you digitally.
Likewise.
How do you feel?
I feel very, enthusiastic and I have a lot of energy and it's definitely needed in these days more than ever.
Exactly. And I love the smile on your face. It gives so much hope and looking forward this episode.
Great. Let's go.
Let's start. So we start with you. You are our storyteller. How would you like to present yourself and what are you passionate about?
I'm very passionate about giving every human being, and now especially every child, to become their best, to have every child develop to their full potential. I mean, what a wonderful world we would have if every child had that right.
True, true. I completely agree with you. And how would you like to introduce yourself?
Well, since I was at university, I have been very engaged in solidarity issues, in equal opportunities issues, and also in sustainable development. I started my career within the European Commission in Brussels, where I worked on development cooperation, but also on climate change and environment policies. And I think to work for children brings everything together, the human rights and the rights for the planet.
Yes, amazing. And is this how the child-friendly cities initiative started? Would you like to tell us about how did it start? Like,
Yeah, if you sort of would Google it, you would see that it was actually in 1996. There was a big UN conference, what we call on human settlements, because a large majority of people on the planet live in cities, in huge cities or in smaller cities. And the purpose of this conference was to see how do we make sure that humans can live, be healthy, thrive in cities. And at this conference, that said that the best indicator for, let's say, a successful city is to look at its children and see how they are doing.
so cities for children is not something new that pop up now, right?
No, so it's since 1996, and the wonderful thing that this was not a conference for children. It was a conference with adults like you and me. But at this conference, they say we need to have children as our focus because if they are healthy, if they are safe, if they can participate in a democratic society, we will have the best possible human settlements for everybody.
Exactly. So it's super interesting parameters to show how to measure how successful and how healthy is the society, especially also if you measure how good is the future gonna be,
Mm.
because now you're dealing with the next generation.
Yes. And it is a sad fact that children are often the hardest hit by inequalities, by climate change. And it's up to us adults who can decide, who can plan a city, who can decide on a budget to protect them. They cannot do it themselves. They don't have the right to vote yet.
Exactly. So if I ask you like to whom is the child-friendly cities addressed, like the initiative that UNICEF is running?
So it is actually addressed both to the public, to people working with a public responsibility, with the private, and to civil society. And the local level is in the focus. The national level has to support, but I'm addressing now everyone sitting locally could be in the city of Stockholm, who is the one who's going to make a plan for the city of Stockholm, who's going to take a decision on the budget for the city of Stockholm, who's going to look at the schools or the bikeways, all those people who influences the look and the quality of the city is my target group.
Yeah. So let's say the prior is to the decision makers that decide the
Absolutely.
budgets that goes to planning the city. And do this initiative gives a kind of guideline and so on?
So we now have more than 900 cities around the world who have named themselves to be a child-friendly city. It's in 50 countries
Wow.
where we have these 900 cities. And you have to then show that you are integrated the rights of the child in your central planning. This is not going to work if you have one fantastic project leader far away down a corridor with a tiny budget who is not in the central planning process. So the cities have told us that this is the mayor of the city saying, I will commit. I might not succeed in every part, but I will try to involve children in decisions that concerns them, to look at their needs and their rights.
Mm. So it's not about only telling that I'm building cities for kids, but also working with it and trying hard to make it happen.
Absolutely. It's integrating the convention of the rights of a child into decision making. So it's not a specific project, it's this integration and mainstreaming
Mm,
of
mm.
children's rights.
Yes, I understand. But also, do they get a certification from UNICEF, or what's the price? I know we
Yes,
shouldn't ask for a price because it's our mission, but
yes.
some
So
candies could be good.
if we talk about Sweden, where I can sort of let's say decide more and be more involved, we we go out, we ask all communes in Sweden to be part of this. All the 290 communes are welcome to cooperate. It's going to take cooperation, it's going to take training. We are helping in this process to raise the level of competence, and the city has to show that it is now part of our central decision making. So cooperation, training, and then monitoring that it's actually work with a few good examples, and then you will get a diploma.
Yeah, yeah,
So there is a process, and at the end of the day, you have a diploma.
yeah, that's really cool. Well, let me tell you about what's happening because I'm working at Landskapslaget. We work with urban planning and also focused on the child-friendly cities. But the thing is that, okay, when we start, now I will not specify which municipality or something, but there are many projects that we start with a big ambition that, okay, let's do this project with a lot of focus toward children. But during the process, the project leader or the budget just getting reduced. And then in the end, we just look at the, okay, then there is not enough money to work on this specific task. And then you just lose all the rights of kids. And this is like a kind of business as usual. So how do the municipality think to keep all the budget along the process and keep focus that this project should be toward the kids as well?
Well, we have now 5 pilot project communes or local authorities, which is say in English in Sweden, and we hope to be at least over 20 in 2021, so next year. And I think we invest a lot of time in talking with the political leadership in the commune, and there has to be a commitment and a strong belief that if I will integrate the needs of children in my city planning and in my budget work, this city will be better for all my citizens. It will be better for the elderly. It will be better for people with disabilities. It will be better for children. So the political leadership has to be convinced themselves that this is a smart investment to invest in children is a smart investment overall for my city. It will more likely be safer, it will be greener, it will be more easy to bike, there will be less bullying. So it is, I would say, a child-friendly city is a safer city, is a healthier city, is a greener city, and the whole population of that local authority will be happy.
Definitely. These values exactly what me as an urban planner also talking to the different authorities that if you invest in child-friendly cities, in the long run, you will generate these values. And these values not only for the kids, they are going also toward every single person in the city. And tell me who will not love to be in a green park or bike on a wide bike line or just cross a street without being scared to be hit by a car. So the thing that is, we should understand the value of investment in the long run. Maybe it's not generating money at the moment, but in the long run, of course, definitely.
Absolutely. And it will be, if we're thinking now about the corona crisis, such a city will be also much more resilient to a lot of stress on a city. It'll be easier with social distancing. You will have healthier people. You will probably have a stronger social bond in the city, which is exactly what we need when there is a crisis, to have a city where it's easy to work together, the public, the private, the civil society. And I think a child-friendly city is also a city that has learned how to involve citizens in decisions that you will take. And therefore you will have ownership. You will have less, I'm sure, bus stops that's been smashed, or you will have less littering, less, less problems in your city. So you can start cutting down on police and other things.
Exactly. Talking about this topic, I had an episode with Nidhi Gulati from USA talking about if you involve people in the project, this will be their story and they will take care of it. And you will never have this kind of bullying or smashing or even like imagine you creating your own space. Of course, you will take care of it. But the thing that, again, it's need a mindset.
I think it is very much a mindset. But I think that now, if I was the mayor of a city, I have two important documents on my desk right now. It's the on the Rights of the Child, which has also become law in Sweden, 1st of January, and I have Agenda 2030, where I'm in now in the decade of action. And locally, we have to put down these two global documents to the local level. And there I have all the guidance, all the goals, all the motivation I need.
Yeah.
Uh,
But tell me now, the thing that with Agenda 2030, everyone telling is too big, too broad, it's a globally. And the challenge is how to redo it so it fits locally. So what is your advice to all the municipalities to put these two documents together and fit it locally?
I mean, I think it's, and UNICEF, of course, is always ready to support and have a dialogue here. But let's say if you take the 17 goals and you say, I'm going to put a priority actually on children and young people in my commune, there are some goals that are going to be more important for children and young people. Let's say the article to end all forms of violence, or to live in a healthy environment, or equal opportunities between boys and girls in how you invest in boys sports or girls sports. So let's take three of the Agenda 2030 goals and take them down to your local level. And what does it mean for us? And Agenda 2030 says it. We know that you as a mayor are not going to fix this yourself, or head of a big building company. It's together in a partnership that you will solve it. So call to a meeting with all the local partners and say, I'm thinking about these goals to make them local. How does our action plan looks like? What can you do, you do? So you have to own it and make it local. And I know that children are going to help you if you just let them into the room. They're going to have great ideas.
Yes, believe me, every single time I did a dialogue, like about urban planning project with the kids, they coming with so wonderful ideas. Believe me, and I will be like, really? You're just 6 years old. You're just 7 years old. They are so creative. I am totally agree with you. But again, it's needed. a mindset that believe in co-collaboration. Do you think it's hard to get this mindset?
I think that we need to talk more the way we do now, and I think we need to gather people who have actually those concrete good examples. We developed a report, or let's say a toolbox at UNICEF global level on city planning. The architects, the city planners, the construction companies, the communes who were involved in this, they were so enthusiastic and got so many good ideas from knowing that this is happening in another city and it works. I think we have to take this reasoning down to very concrete co-creation workshops with practitioners who are going to tell you it's not so complicated, focus on this and this and that, and you're going to have a result. So bring these different people like you, like myself, like others together and give them a local problem to solve.
Exactly. And this is what we try to do, but unfortunately, we couldn't make it because of the COVID-19. We're
Yes.
supposed to meet a big event,
Yes.
but hopefully after the summer when things getting better.
Because there is a lot of concrete recommendations. There
Yes,
is
yes.
toolboxes and handbooks. But I would like to say again that the local authorities, let's say, it's a democratic process. We have elected people who have the responsible now to deliver a sustainable, child-friendly cities to us. And we have to also put pressure on them to ask questions and to facilitate, because at the end of the day, they are the one who are doing upphandling. What do you say in English? Public procurement. So they are the ones who put the demands on companies when they say, I want to build a new neighborhood here. The decision makers have to specify there has to be spaces for kids to exercise. It has to be safe. It has to be green, because sometimes I feel we have super engaged entrepreneurs, but the communes didn't order that. They ordered something else.
Exactly,
So this
exactly.
dialogue is very important.
Yeah. And do you believe that decision makers now paying more attention like to solve the climate crisis and not focusing on other stuff like child-friendly cities? Now we see in the vision documents from the municipalities, let's build a sustainable city. But this is more focused on the climate,
Mm.
not really on the social aspect.
I mean, we have to educate people there, because if it's sustainable, it's a pillar of green and it's a pillar of social. It's both the environment and the social sustainability of it all, and of course, economic.
Yeah.
And I think that there was a fantastic report that I'd like to promote. It was the UNICEF, WHO, Lancet Commission, who in February presented a report, which is the name is How to Make Children Flourish. And it makes a very strong link between the investments that we do right now for green cities, for climate friendly cities. If you just tweak that perhaps a little bit, you're going to have this added value of the child flourishment, because it's so interlinked. A
Yeah.
child can only flourish in a healthy green city.
Yeah. And the thing is not complicated and difficult.
No.
Well, now we are in the COVID-19 situation, and of course, it's part of our story and our talk now. So, how does this affect children in the cities, the COVID-19?
It has huge effect on children's. I mean, we have all heard that children are not a, let's say, main target for the virus. The virus is more effective, unfortunately, than on the elderly. So children are not so hard hit by the virus itself, but children are extremely hard hit by the measures that cities and governments have taken to protect us, of course. But let me just take the closing of schools. We have today 1.5 billion children. It's almost in 90 countries where schools are closed. In Sweden, it's also stressful and difficult for many children who goes to the gymnasium, but at least they have an iPad. We have a digital system that managed that you and I, we can sit like this. But for many children, perhaps they have a radio where the teacher going to able to reach them. but they are so, the digital divide is now hitting together with the closing of schools. The poverty divide for many children around the world, they went to school, that was the only place where they had water and sanitation. It was the only proper meal a day for the child. So of course closing the schools have enormous effect on children right now and also for their learning. We know that a lot of children in poor countries, especially girls, they might never come back to school when they reopen. So the effects are enormous, and we have to invest now to be sure that the learning continues,
Yeah,
that they continue to get food, that they continue to get somewhere to wash their hands. And
exactly.
we are working with this now, of course.
Yeah, I'm very happy when I read the different posts on your LinkedIn and see the different project that UNICEF is running. First, I have a question: whose responsibility to take care of the kids? Is it the family, the teacher, or the municipality, or UNICEF?
I mean, like we say, it takes a village to raise a child. If you look at the convention on the right of a child, it's the state is responsible for children's rights. But in order for children's rights to become reality, it is of course the parents play a key role. Every adult around a child, it could be the football trainer, it could be the neighbor, all the adults around the child, the local politicians, the national politicians, and then thank God then to UN agencies, civil society, who can be there now and support.
Yeah, and tell me more about how UNICEF is helping the kids in different countries.
So I mean, we first, of course, we have to focus on saving lives. We have a lot of children who still die before the age of 5 of diseases that you and me, our parents, took us to a healthcare center and we got vaccinated against, and we don't die of measles. A lot of children in the world do not get that vaccination. And also now in the COVID-19 crisis, a lot of the general healthcare reforms are also being put at a hold. But so we have to make sure that children survive with nutrition, with vaccinations, with healthcare, with clean water. Washing hands is always important, and many,
Yes.
many, many children and die because of a lack of sanitation. And then it is, of course, the whole social protection system. Let's say the social part of sustainable development, that if I am a single mother, I lost my job, I have 5 children, I need help for my children to survive. There has to be social protection for vulnerable families
Mm,
to keep their children alive, keep them with food and clothes and school. So UNICEF is also very strong in talking to governments and helping governments also financially to put social protection system in place. It's
mm,
key. And then this general health care system in a village is perhaps one nurse. So what we do a practical, we have drones that goes into far away villages. We have contact with the nurse, she gets trained, she will inject the vaccinations, and then the drone will go back empty.
wow, wow,
So
that's
it's,
amazing.
UNICEF is everything from talking to prime minister to sending out the drones.
That's amazing. I'm so happy. I'm really happy. I'm always when I see people with this initiative and project, I see that the future is promising. Well, it's a big thank from me as an urban planner and as an individual in the society to all the UNICEF team that working hard to make kids stay alive.
Thank you. And we need everybody's support. The whole of society have to step up. And if you look at the Agenda 2030 and the enormous needs we have globally, I mean, we do have the capital, but the capital is not invested here. It is not a money problem, but we have to get the money to the kids. And thanks
Exactly.
to our world parents, I mean, these are normal people like you and me, that we save lives. So we need the individuals, we need the companies, civil society to help us.
Yeah. You just brought a memory back to me talking about the money. Once I met a landowner, very powerful and rich, and I asked him why there's not big investment in a good buildings or planning. And he told me there is a money, but we are not in touch with the right people. The money is not the issue at all.
No, I think that the education, the training. And I think I would think one, let's say, quick fix would be to become much more better at involving the children, like you said before. That is, I think, the quickest change. If you think, look at Fridays for Future, when young people step up, they have the competence, they have the energy. What they lack is the power of decision making. But if we team up with children, there is nothing we can solve.
Exactly, exactly. And yes, I really miss the Friday for Future. Every Friday I was there like having lunch with them. Yes, as again, the future is super promising.
Yeah, and there is such a strong link between children's rights and climate. I mean,
Yes.
yeah,
Tell me about the different paragraphs in the children right to the children's. Like, how can we read about them, and how should we actually read about them?
I think there is actually a lot of good information. You can go into UNICEF Sweden's web page. There's also a lot of free material that we distribute to schools. It's on the computer if you just Google. But I think there are some key principles in the convention that we should always bear in mind, because there are many articles. But the key thing is to make children involved in decisions that concerns them. That is a very important principle. It's a right they have. Even if they can't vote, you have to involve the child in a decision that concerns that child. It could be in a divorce where you talk about where the child is going to live. It's not enough to talk to the parents. You need to talk to the child. And if you feel uncomfortable, you have to get a training, because the child has the right to a good dialogue. Not ask about the hobbies, but really ask, how is your situation with your parents? So listen and involve the child. And then once again, back maybe to the parents, it is the best interest of the child. We have to, as adults, always look for what is the best interest of the child. Maybe we cannot always go all the way, but we need to know it, and we need to act in accordance. So if we can become better at listening, involving, and have the routines for screening and looking at the best interests of the child, we're going to go very, very far in making the convention a reality for all children.
Yeah, wonderful advices. Now I need to take this opportunity to ask for advices for me as an urban planner that planning cities for children. I'm trying my best to involve, to ask the kids to listen to them and take their ideas to the decision maker and so on. So I am a kind of the link between kids and the decision maker. Of course, there's always space to improve. So I would love to ask you, me as an urban planner, what should I do more in order to let the voice of the kids be heard by decision maker?
Yes. But well, first, of course, we adults, we have a tendency, but okay, now it's only you and me here, so we can speak, but we do have a tendency to speak first and listen after. So to have to honestly be very open, because like you said, you are going to get so surprised about the competence in the room. It's not only that they have a right to be there, but we cannot do it without them, because their competence, the way they know their needs, we can't know it, and they have a lot of solutions. So I mean, to listen much more than you talk, to make sure, and that is the tricky thing, that you reach out to all children. Because when we call for a meeting, when we ask children to come to a special place, we miss a lot of children. So we have to be smart in going out where the children are already. It could be maybe to a local football club, or maybe to the after school activities if we are allowed in, to meet with youth organizations where children have already chosen to be active. So I think to listen more than you talk, and to go where the children are. And remember that a lot of children have wonderful ideas, but they are shy.
Yeah.
People have disabilities, they need to be listened to in another way. So I would say those two things.
Yeah, thank you so much. And yes, as you mentioned, we also like during the dialogue, we're trying to have different groups. Maybe we talk individually with a kid because they are shy. Some are of kids, they don't want to talk in bigger groups. So it's very important to pay attention to every single child and also not waiting for them to come to us, but we reach out to them.
Mm. And I mean, and now we are all becoming experts in digital
Yes.
meetings. And of course, it is an opportunity for children because we can try to reach them where they are. And in a way, it's very democratic because if are a shy person, or you
Yeah.
have friends that bully you, you don't want to say something in the same room, you can get online and get your views through.
True, true. And this brings me back to the initiative by UNICEF, the child-friendly cities. What is the status now, and what is the next?
So last autumn, there was a global meeting in Germany, actually. Angela Merkel was also there. So we gathered young people who have been involved in child-friendly cities projects. And this global meeting was a real boost and gave a lot of energy to leaders and to experts and to children that this is the way forward. It is a very efficient way to implement the Convention of the Rights of the Child, and it's a very efficient way to reach the goals of Agenda 2030. So for UNICEF, I mean, we're going to go from 5 to at least 20 in the next year. I mean, I don't see why not all the communes
Yes,
should be.
exactly.
And we should say that there are mayors and local politicians and local entrepreneurs who are already doing an amazing job that we don't even know about it.
Yeah,
But I think this is actually the answer to a lot of questions. We know that we belong together globally, but the
yes,
action has to take place where we live.
yeah. You brought very important point about the mayors that doing the right job. So I would love also, because when we talk, we might sound negative about city development, but also we need to send a big greetings and thank for the people who are actually working toward the child-friendly city. So hats off to all of you.
Yes, I met so every time I go out to these child-friendly communes, I get so inspired. And also because often it's almost only children on stage. They have even let, the platform to the kids themselves, which
Yeah.
is like, wow, then you really got it.
Yes, exactly, exactly. So big thanks for all the people that working hard. Now my favorite question is, what is a smart city?
I mean, a smart city is where people feel good and are healthy. I mean, a smart city is for me a friendly city. It's a friendly city to older people, to women, to men, to children. A smart city is a friendly city. A smart city is a caring city. And a smart city has to be a sustainable city. Um, I mean, I don't see why we have to go this way because we're going to be happier and it's going to be sustainable for generations to come.
Mm. So what I see now from your definition of smart city is more a social friendly city and ecological friendly. Usually answers that I get is more it's a high tech city.
Mm.
So how do you think that we should use the technology in order to create this friendly, social friendly cities?
I mean, of course, now that we are all living this, the technology steps that we have taken is now becoming very clear during the COVID-19. And of course, technology and the digital development can help us a lot. But we have also seen how people long for this physical contact, to have meeting places, not where we have to be very crowded, but spacious green spots.
Yeah.
So of course we have to use the best technology, but there is not only innovation in technology, there is also social innovation. And I think here actually is where we need the biggest step up now in the social innovation and make the technology and the social innovation go hand in hand.
Mm. It's also again, it's about on what should we invest the money, right?
It's a very key question. But I mean, let's say we should look at where do we invest the money now and how successful are we? I mean, we have seen now during the COVID-19 crisis that we have, I believe, invested too little in the social. We have invested too little in the elderly. We have invested too little in children, very much because their voices are not as strong as us middle-aged, you
Mm.
know, people.
Yeah.
So I think we have to learn, and we have to. There is, of course, something with the this 4-year mandate, 1 year budgets for companies, even a quarterly report.
Yeah,
We have to get a thinking in that makes us be able to get value. People who invest for the long run has to get value for that.
exactly, exactly. Especially the future generation, the next coming generation as well.
Mm,
I remember from a lecture with my professor Anne Legaby. She is a professor in urban planning, and she was had a lecture and telling that sometimes we actually invest in segregation instead of
mm,
putting communities together, and it was very sad to hear that.
mm.
Pernilla, I'm interested. How do you use the city now? Like during the COVID-19, where do you go? How do you do the grocery? Like, how is the daily life in the city?
Luckily, I can walk to many places. So when I go up from my chair, I need to get some air. Then I would walk and do my groceries because I'm not myself in a risk group, and so I will mostly do it by foot. My daughter has borrowed my bike, and I haven't seen it in several weeks. So less biking now for me. And then, of course, I try to go for walks with my close friends, even with a slight distance. But it's so important for me to get out in some green spaces. And Stockholm, of course, we live in a wonderful city with so many opportunities. And I do think that one positive outcome from this crisis is that, I mean, I have never seen so many people out in the forest where I run. So a lot of more people has found the green spaces.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We're building back the relationship to the nature.
Yeah. Mm.
Are you less in the downtown where there's less nature, let's say?
Um, I went to the office yesterday, so I was downtown. I think, like many people in Stockholm, are quite surprised that there are so many people out and about. There were a lot of people, and I was in Vasaparken, and of course, everybody. I mean, we are Swedes, and we need the sun.
Yeah,
So there were a lot of people just
sunbathing.
enjoying.
Yeah,
Yeah, sunbathing.
Especially I heard that it's 18 degrees, right?
Yeah, it's
So
going to be a fantastic day
so
today.
the summer is here.
Yes, yes. I'm thinking about just one more thing I'd like to say is that,
Of
I
course.
mean, the climate issue is a big issue, and there is a lot of investments, thankfully, going into the climate change policies and to climate friendly cities. And I think we have such an opportunity now. We know that they're going to be built like so many hundreds of thousands of new cities around the world. And why we do it now, while we do this, let's do it in a way that we solve the climate and we make it child friendly. And I agree with you, it's not so much more money we need, it's kind of a slightly different type of investment. And if you talk to the children before you do these huge investments, you're going to get it both: green,
Exactly.
sustainable, social sustainable.
Exactly. And to be honest, that's why I started this podcast. It's about the mindset. So I'm very thankful that you gave us of your time to inspire to change the mindset in city development because we need people like you to tell us, okay, you can do like this. It's possible. It's not that difficult. So thank you so much again.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
Yeah.
Look forward to cooperate with you.
Yes, yes, me too. I'm honored. Well, now it's more like to finish the beautiful story. What is the next step for you?
The next step for me is I'm working very much now to help children who are suffering the consequences of COVID-19 around the world. We have to keep children alive, we have to keep them healthy, and we cannot cut their learning. We have to find ways for children to continue to learn even though they cannot go to school, because we've had a good development globally on children's education. And I'm going to do everything I can together with UNICEF, the global parents, with company partners, with everybody to not to have that curve go down. We have to get it up.
Yeah, in this case, we will never flatten the curve of education. It's
Never
need to,
flatten the
yeah,
curve of
not
education.
this curve, not this curve.
Absolutely. And like we said in the beginning, that every child has the right to flourish and to become the one that, he or she is supposed to be.
Yes, yes, of course, of course. Well, how would you like to summarize what we talked about and your reflection in three takeaway messages to all the people who's listening to you?
I think see the children around you. Give them, your attention as a parent, as a football trainer, as a neighbor. Like see them and give them your full attention. Put away your phone, and I'm saying this to myself as well. Give children attention and look at the long-term perspectives now. Children's rights are here and now, but we're also building a society for the future. So think long-term. Sustainability and children's rights goes hand in hand. And thirdly, let the children participate. Listen to them. Go to where they are. Don't expect them to come to your office. You have to go to where they are. So if we can fix the participatory goal, we can solve a lot of things.
Yes, very powerful messages, and I'm completely sure that we together gonna solve this. So
We
far,
will.
there are yes, yes. And now the fun part. I need three hashtags for this episode.
Yes. The first one is leave no child behind. Hashtag leave no child behind. Hashtag we are one. And the Swedish one that we use when we talk about children's rights is hashtag barnrätt.
Yes, yes. Thank you so much for this powerful and inspirational meeting.
Thanks to you, Mustafa.
Yes, and hopefully see you soon after the COVID-19 is out
Yes,
and we do
we
it.
will.
Yes, yes.
Take care. Take care.
Thank you. You too. Thank you so much for listening to Urbanistica podcast. If you have any stories that makes our city smarter and more child friendly, please contact me. Don't forget to follow the Instagram, LinkedIn, and subscribe the YouTube channel. I am Mustafa Sharif. Have a good life.